I want to say up front that I think both are absolutely critical. But I think for many of our colleagues, there's been too much focus just on the art of teaching, that I just know what to do when I go in a classroom. And I've often told the story, Linda Darling-Hammond, an educator out of the US, who had a huge influence on me at one session, said that the problem with much of what we do in teaching is that it's intuitive. And she said the problem with intuition is that it is sterile. What did she mean by intuition is sterile? She meant I can't pass it on. If I'm simply in a classroom and I'm doing it because this is what I think works or it's always worked, and I don't actually have a language to describe what I'm doing, or I don't have a theoretical understanding of why what I'm doing works, I can't pass it on to anyone. I remember a colleague of mine who had probably some of the best relationships with kids that I've ever seen. And he said to me once, we'd been talking about this, and he said, you know, she was right. He said, I have great relationships with kids, but I'm not sure why I do. I'm not sure I can actually articulate what it is that I'm doing that does that, and why what I'm doing makes a difference and why what someone else is doing doesn't make a difference. What I want to argue is that educators we're professionals. We need a deep knowledge base of learning theory and what works, so that when I'm in a classroom, I can actually say to someone, I am teaching this in this way for this reason. And I think every teacher should be able to tell us, to answer that question. Two questions really. What are you teaching? Why are you teaching that? And secondly, why are you teaching it in the way that you're teaching it? What is the rationale behind the strategy? What's the theory behind what you're doing? Not just that it's always worked, or I think it works, but why am I actually teaching in the way that I am? So intuition is a good thing, but it's not enough. I think for teachers as professionals, we need both. We need a deep knowledge base about what we're doing, but we also need that experiential, intuitive material that we build from experience as well. But one's not enough. And I think this is one of the challenges for us as leaders. So just putting up this slide quickly, I think every teacher should be able to say, what is it important for kids to learn? Why am I teaching this? Why am I teaching it in this way? So what is powerful learning? Why have I chosen to teach kids how to read in this way? Why am I using this strategy today to improve the process? And how do I know if it's working or not? What evidence am I actually using to know that for a whole range of different kids, this is actually working? So, Peter Hill had some of these boxes, and I've added the one up the top. And he argued, again, that an effective teacher needs those three areas. Knowledge of their discipline, that in fact, and most of us will all have stories about when we've tried to teach something when we didn't have a deep knowledge of what we were teaching. And what we often do as a result is focus on the details or the little stuff. I know the first time I taught Year 12 biology, just feeling overwhelmed, and I focused on the detail. That's where I felt most competent. And what I learnt over time, and working particularly with a mentor, John Allen, who I never actually said how fantastic he was as a mentor, He taught me that what I had to focus on were the big ideas. Talk to the kids all the time about what's the big picture of what I'm trying to get you to learn. Why am I getting you to learn this? How does this fit with this? How does it connect together? You can't do that without a deep knowledge of the discipline. I have to know, I'm a science teacher, I have to know those concepts that I want kids to understand. I have to know them in depth. But it's not only that, I actually need my pedagogical content knowledge. I need to know as a science teacher, what are the things kids will often get wrong? Where do they usually make mistakes? What are the misconceptions that they bring into this classroom? What are the things I have to watch for? What are the best teaching strategies? Disciplines are different. They've all got different methodologies. They therefore often need different approaches to teaching to actually enable them to be effectively taught. And obviously I need generalised pedagogical knowledge.